Let's get more now on our top story, the aftermath of Sunday's local elections in Hong Kong. Victor Gao is the Vice President of the Centre for China and Globalization and joins me now live from Beijing. Good to have you with us on the programme, sir. I mean, is this election result in Hong Kong tantamount to a rejection of the sort of harder line policy of Beijing and the implementation of the ideas it would like the Hong Kong government to implement?
No, I don't think so. Hong Kong is a democracy and people have the right to vote. And the law protects the people's rights to vote, to demonstrate, to protest, if they are all legal and lawful. Of top priority for Hong Kong now is to put a stop to violence. That's the key. I would say the district council election was held yesterday. It's done, and the votes are very clear. It's made known to everyone. And I think in a democracy, whichever party wins more or loses some votes, for example, that's normal. Don't be surprised or agitated about it. I would say no candidate yesterday stood for violence. That's the key.
No,
I don't think
in the same sense, Mr. Gao,
pro-government is the right word to describe the situation.
With respect, Mr. Gao, at the end of the day, what we saw were pro-democracy, you might say anti-Beijing candidates winning seats across the board. And therefore, that is a message being sent to Beijing. And one wonders how Beijing is going to react to this, considering even the foreign minister is saying it doesn't really matter how Hong Kong votes, it's still part of China. They're sort of brushing it aside.
No, Hong Kong is part of China. The whole world knows about it. No one in the world can change that fact. And when you have election, whatever the result, if the election is lawful and legal and peaceful, everyone needs to accept the result. That's it. Now, for the political parties who are very agitated, for example, about the situation in Hong Kong today, we need to point out that democracy is a must for Hong Kong, but rule of law is also equally an important must for Hong Kong. You cannot promote greater democracy through violence or anarchy. That's the key. All politicians in Hong Kong, including those council members who won their election yesterday, should stand firmly against the violence and stand for restoration of law and order. That's the minimum case. And I hope this should be accepted by everyone in Hong Kong.
So if that is the case, if that's what you think should happen, what is the next step in terms of the fact that both sides need to perhaps sit down and talk if this is going to sort of move forward? But Carrie Lam, as the chief executive, says that, you know, she is listening humbly. Should she be the one that makes the first move now?
No, first of all, as I mentioned, of top priority for Hong Kong is to put a stop to violence and restore law and order. That's a must. Now, on that basis, all kinds of dialogue and communication need to take place, including the district council election yesterday, which was taking place more or less in peaceful means, despite of the fact there were interruptions occasionally. And I hope this would lay the groundwork for more dialogue and communication going forward in the coming months and in the coming years. There are lots of social and economic issues in Hong Kong which need attention, and I hope the Hong Kong SAR government, together with people of all walks of life in Hong Kong, can really earnestly sit down and talk about these issues and find a good solution to many of these issues. But violence is not the right way, and violence is not a solution. We need to defend the rule of law in Hong Kong while promoting greater democracy.
Well, we shall see how these new legislators begin their working lives in the new assemblies as such in the coming weeks. For the moment, Victor Gao, thanks so much for joining us from Beijing. Pleasure to have you on the programme.
Thank you very much for having me.